Hi guys, it's Stacy. Welcome to the very first Artsy Fartsy Friday. It is so great to see you. So every week for Artsy Fartsy Friday, we're gonna do a different project. This week, we're gonna watercolor. It's gonna be a little different than anything you've done with me before, especially if you've been to art camp. But there are things that I love about watercoloring, and we're gonna find out what those are right now. In order to complete today's project, you will need the following supplies: watercolor paint, paintbrushes, watercolor paper. Regular paper won't work for this, so you need watercolor paper for sure, a dish towel or paper towels, somewhere to mix paint, either a white plate, or if you have watercolor mixing trays like these, that'll be great too. Masking tape or washi tape, 2 glasses of water, and various pens or markers. And that's it. I love a clean new piece of paper because that means it's full of possibilities. We just have to fill it up with stuff. So with watercolor, what we're gonna do, we're gonna have 2 glasses. One glass is gonna be for cleaning our brushes, and one is going to be for adding water to our paints. Now, most of you will have watercolor paints that look just like this. So that's what I'm going to use. Sometimes other people will have watercolor pans like these, but these are pretty fancy schmancy. So if you have them, use them. If not, use this. So first thing I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take my watercolor brush and I'm gonna make sure it's pretty wet. Most of the time you wouldn't want the watercolor brush thing to be really drippy, but I do because it's water that makes our paint come to life. So those of you who have painted with me before, we've done acrylic painting. And acrylic painting is really thick and really sticky and hard to clean up. Watercolor paint is the opposite of all those things. So it's a lot more fun to play with and you can keep it out and not make a huge mess. So let me finish getting all these wet. And while I'm doing this, you're gonna wanna follow along and do this too. Just make sure every color in your palette gets a good amount of water on it. Now, I'm not gonna be using black in my painting, so I'm gonna leave that dry. And I'm gonna leave you a little hint here about this white. I never, ever paint with white, just because it doesn't show up on the paper and it makes my other colors look really cloudy, so I never use it. All right, so while these are soaking in some water right now, I'm gonna come over here to my watercolor palette or my white plate. Either one is fine. Since most of you probably will have a white plate, I'll just use that. So again, I'm gonna take my brush in the water, I'm gonna get it really drippy, and I'm gonna come over here, and you probably can't even see it, but I'm making a puddle of water right here in the corner. So I'm gonna come back over here, and let's see, I'm gonna get some yellow paint. You always wanna mix your yellow paint first, because all the other colors can make your yellow paint look dark and kind of brown. So look what's happening. I'm using my brush to soak up all the color that's in there, and then I bring it over here, and now I have a lot of paint. So let's see what color we've got. That's the yellow color that I have right now. And I think I want that to be a little bit darker. So I'm gonna put my brush back in this paint, try to pick up a whole lot of it on there. And I'm gonna keep adding it to this. And let's see where we are now, a little bit darker. So now I'm gonna do a little trick. I'm gonna get a little bit of orange, and I'm gonna add it to my yellow, and let's see what color we have. A little bit more orange. And now we have a very bright yellow. So remember guys, you're following along with me and you're doing what I'm doing. Now I'm gonna come over here, I'm gonna rinse out my brush and make sure it's really clean, okay? And I'm gonna come over here with my clear water and I'm gonna come back over in the corner of my plate. And And I'm gonna put a puddle of water over here. Now maybe you can see that because there's a little tint of yellow in it. And now I'm gonna make some orange. So I'm coming back over here, filling up my brush. I'm gonna keep filling it up until I get the color that I want. So now that looks the same as that. So I'm gonna come in here to my red. I'm gonna add it to my yellow. Now let's see what color we have. And you always check your color by painting on your page. It's lighter than you think it should be. You would think with that color it would be really bright, but it's not. So let's add a little bit more red. I'm drying off my brush just a little bit so it doesn't drip. Come over here. I think that'll pass for orange. So I'm gonna clean out my brush really well. And I'm gonna continue to do this until I have 2 more colors on this plate. Okay, these are the colors that we have. We have this purple right here. We have this orange, this yellow, and this blue-green. And you probably saw that I mixed some of this blue right here with a little bit of green. And that's how I came up with this color. And see, it's still wet. You can see it on my finger, okay? So the first technique that I'm gonna teach you is wet on dry. So basically what that means is that we're just gonna put wet paint on dry paper. So I'm gonna take my brush out of my water, okay? And I don't want it drippy. So I'm gonna come over here to my paper towel or to my dish towel and I'm gonna wipe it off. And you can see it still has a little color on it. We wanna make sure that it's clear. All right, now we're ready to go. So always test it if you've got white paper towel or a white dishcloth. That's best because that lets you see whether or not there's any color in your water, okay? So I'm gonna come over here and I'm just gonna paint some circles. So I'm gonna grab some of this purple and I'm gonna paint a circle. Now, that's not very dark, but that's okay. We can come back and fix it. And so I still have paint on this brush. I'm gonna come in and use it again, and this time it's even lighter. You can control the color that you're using by how much water you use. So let me show you. Rinse off the brush. There's no color in it. So let's go back over here and let's get some orange. So, just making another circle. And you can see there's some water on it. But it's gonna dry for the most part pretty quickly. You can tell whether or not it's wet if you can see it shiny. Can you see that in the camera? Okay, all right. So for the most part, it looks like this one's dry, this one's on its way, and this one is definitely dry for sure. There's still paint on here, so let's see what we do now. Not much color at all. You can barely see it. Rinse off my brush. And now I'm gonna grab my yellow. Another yellow one. And yellow's my favorite color, so I'm gonna do a couple more. Rinse out my brush. And come back over here to my turquoise. A couple more circles. Now you don't have to make circles. You can do squares, or you can do blobs, or you can do X's. Okay, so what we have right here is pretty basic, right? Some of these are still wet, but these up here, for sure, are dry. So if we're going to do wet onto dry, let's see what happens when we add some wet paint over the purple that's already dried. Pretty cool, right? Do you see how the purple came out and swirled around into the blue? It's kind of a cool look, right? I'm gonna get some more of this. Then I'm gonna come over here to my yellow. I'm gonna make another one. I'm gonna get even more. I'm gonna get even more. Let's do this. This time I'm gonna get it really drippy. And I'm gonna flick it. Look at that. And the cool thing about watercolor is you can see that it got here on the table. It'll wipe right up, so it won't ruin anything. So now I'm gonna rinse that out again. Let's see what else we can do. Some more pink. Pretty cool, right? I'm gonna get some yellow. I layered yellow over yellow. Pretty cool, right? And that is wet onto dry. So now we're gonna do wet onto wet, and this is really cool. So we're gonna take just some plain water here. I don't want it drippy. I'm just gonna wash it down the side of my cup, just like that. And I'm gonna come in here, and you probably can't see it, but I'm putting water right onto my paper. And you want it to be fairly wet. You don't want it to be completely soaked, but it's definitely wet. So I'm gonna come over here and get some of this orange. Now look what happens. Totally different. This is called a watercolor wash. And this is how we get a background color. So it's still pretty wet. You can see the water lines in it right there. And you can see where it dries out down here. Now we're going to drop some other colors into it and see what happens. We're going to work quickly. Let's grab some pink. Look what happens. Another one there. Another one there. Rinse off my brush. Go back in. Drop another there. See, what's happened here is our yellow's mixed into our blue, but that's okay. We've got a green. Look at that. And that's the difference between painting wet paint onto dry paper and painting wet paint into wet paper. And if you look, while this is still wet and I dry off my brush really well, I can come in here and pull color out. Watch. And that would be how you would clear up a mistake. A dry brush will still absorb water, so you can take it down in there and pull it out. But you got to do it while it's wet. or it's not going to work as well. I mean, you can still do it, but it's not going to work as well. So here's two examples that I did yesterday. This is wet onto dry. And then there's another one somewhere. And this is wet onto wet. So I'll show you how to do one of these. It's real fun. Get your wet brush, paint a circle. Can't see it, but let's go in here with the yellow. So you can see a faint yellow circle there, right? See it? Let's get some orange. Now, when it's wet, I can move this paint around and see how it will pool in the circle. That's how you get a look like this, or like this, or like this. See that? Let's try one more color and see what happens. Kind of cool, right? Okay guys, I haven't turned the camera back on because I want to show you what's happening. I got too much water in here and it started to bleed outside of the circle. So what did I say a dry brush would do? A dry brush will always soak up water. So I have a completely dry brush that I keep over at the side. There's no water in it. So I'm going to take this over here. I'm going to try to pull this back up. It's going to change the way my final product looks. And it mixed the paint up a little bit so you can see where it got a little muddy there and it looks brown. It just takes time to figure out how to keep that from happening. But see, look at this. I'm taking all the color out. And that's what happens when it all mixes together and gets muddy. And then you just start over. Somewhere else though. All right.
Yeah.
Okay, so now I'm going to show you some of the things you can actually do with this, and this is so fun. So the first thing that we're going to do is we're going to do wet onto dry. So we're going to come over here and we're going to soak up this paint. We want it to be drippy, and we're going to flick it onto the paper. Okay, rinse out my brush. Come back here, get some yellow. Looks like I'm going to have to make some more yellow. Flick it onto the paper. Okay, rinse it off. Picks up some of my green, really drippy. All right, now we're gonna do wet onto wet. So we're gonna make some blob shapes, just with water. They don't have to be perfect. Pick your color and go in and start painting that blob. Now I can tell just by looking at this, it's too light for me. So I'm gonna come in, get some more green, and it's wet. Look at that, cool, right? I'm gonna swirl it all around. Kind of cool, right? Rinse your brush. Now at this point, you can see that my water's starting to get kind of dirty. I'm gonna have to change it out pretty soon so that it doesn't start making dark marks on my paper. But now is not that time. Okay, back in here and get some orange. I'm gonna use orange to wet the paper first instead of clear water. And I'm gonna go over here and I'm gonna get some more orange right out of the pan. Ooh, fancy. Kind of cool, right? Rinse out my brush. Pick up some pink. It's pretty wet. My brush is pretty wet. And I flicked right over it. Rinse my brush off. Get some clear water. This one's going to be a little bit lighter and go directly into my yellow. Now you can use whatever color you want. You don't have to follow the colors I'm using. I can't even see it. Okay, there it is. Look at that. Kind of cool, right? And a color that I like to add to yellow. Let's see. Ooh, let's do some blue and see if we can get some green. So this is going to be a lot of blue because you can see that. It's going to be a lot of blue. I'm just going to drop it in there. Look at that. You guys, I love that. And I'm going to grab an even darker blue and we're going to try something here. So we've loaded up this brush with a lot of paint and it's pretty drippy. So I'm going to dry it off on my towel a little bit. Darker blue right there in the middle. How crazy is that? Do you love it or what? So we're going to wait for this to dry. While we're waiting for this to dry, I want you to know that after you watercolor on a piece of paper, it's totally ready for you to use other things like markers and crayons. You can even use pencils, watercolor pencils, colored pencils, whatever you want. So yesterday I did something almost exactly like this, and then I used my pen. You can use something like this or a fine tip Sharpie, and it turned into this. Now, I don't know exactly what this is. I really don't know. But I went in with my pen and added some detail. So I have one more right up here, and let's see. Here's what we're gonna do with this. So this part right here, I'm gonna make this an eye. Doesn't have to be perfect, right? And then I'm gonna go around the edges. And I don't want a perfect circle because it doesn't have to be perfect. Eyelashes. And let's see. How about if we use some watercolor? Let's go in and make sure our brush is pretty dry. I'm gonna grab a little bit of red. It's a little too drippy. See that? It's too drippy. I'm gonna wipe it off. Still too wet. Look at that! Now it has a mouth. How about some blue arms? And some blue legs. And how about some lower intestines? And right there is a colon. Ta-da! Welcome to my world. Okay, guys. So I just wanted to talk to you a little bit about your Bible lesson this week. This week you'll be learning about something called Palm Sunday. This Sunday was 1 week before Jesus died. Now guys, I want you to think about that. Jesus knew coming into this week that he would only have a few days left here on earth. He knew that he was going to die for the sins of the world. And that was going to be really terrible for him. But you know what? He wanted to do it anyway. So during that last week where he was alive, he decided to put you and me in front of himself. Instead of complaining to other people about what was going to happen to him and running away because he was scared, Jesus faced it because he knew that our sin carried a penalty, and he was the only one that could pay the price for us. So Jesus didn't think about himself. He thought about us. Guys, that tells me that he loves us a lot, and only God could do that for us. What we call that is the upside down way of Jesus. He wants us to care about others more than we care about ourselves. That's an upside down way of looking at things. We think naturally that we should take care of ourselves. But Jesus says, no, I want you to do as I did. I want you to love other people. So in order to remember the upside down way of Jesus, this is your painting for the week. See these birds? They're wondering what's going on. You see this guy? He's hanging upside down. And he's okay with it. It's okay to be different, and it's okay to be yourself, as long as you're doing it to love other people and to love the Lord. See what I did here and here? I took my paper out of my notebook and I taped it down to the table. Sometimes when you're painting with watercolors, your paper, no matter how thick it is, wants to curl up. So this time, because it's my final project, I'm taping it down to the table, and I'll leave it taped down until it's fully dry. And that'll keep it from curling. Okay, so in order to do the birds on the wire, we've already mixed up some paint over here. You can draw circles on your paper if you want to with a pencil. The problem is, unless you draw really, really light, those pencil marks will show through the paint because we can see through watercolors. And I think it's pretty easy to make circles and ovals. So let's just try that on its own. But you don't want the circles that you make at the top to touch each other. Okay, so let's do our first one. Right here. And while that's wet, I'm gonna pick a color for it. I'm gonna do blue. Look at that. I love it. I love it, I love it, I love it! Okay, I'm gonna clean out my brush. And I'm gonna get some clean water and strip in a little bit. Okay, I'm gonna make another circle. And this one I'm gonna make a little bit bigger than the first one. And I'm gonna make it orange. See that? It's pretty wet, so I'm probably gonna take a little bit of the water out of there. Dry this brush off a little bit. And I'm gonna go directly over here and get some orange. Yeah, that's right. Rinse out my brush. Get some clean water. And make one more, and this one I'm gonna make short. And let's do this one and make it green. Okay. Now, this is still wet, and we can tell that it's still wet. So while it's still wet, I'm gonna drop some other color into it. So I'm gonna go over to my purple. and make some purple dots. And I'm gonna go over here to my palette where I have my really dark purple and do some even more. Look at that. This bird is gonna have polka dots. Rinse off my brush. This one is still wet. So how about some red? Let's get some out right out here. Ooh, look at that. I love the color. Okay. Rinse out my brush. And before my green dries all the way, let's put some really dark green in it. Okay, now we're gonna rinse that brush off. We're gonna get some clean water. And we're gonna go down here. I'm gonna make one more oval, and this one, I want it to be yellow so that it's bright and looks different than the others. Look at that. Like I said, yellow's my favorite. I'm gonna put a little bit of orange in there. And now we're gonna let this dry. So go ahead and work on yours and let it dry. Hey, does this look like Sully? I love it. Okay, so at this point, this is mostly dry. So you can see there's some shiny areas in here a little bit, but it's dry enough that we're gonna add some more details to it and it won't totally mess everything up. Okay. Oh, by the way, I should have told you this. These paints usually come with a paintbrush that's here in the middle. Those paintbrushes are terrible. See if you can find a better paintbrush to use, because all the bristles will fall out and you'll get paint, or you get bristles in your paint and it'll make a huge mess, or you'll get bristles stuck in your paint on your paper. Bad scene. Okay, so let's see. I've got enough water on these, and I want the colors that I'm going to use now to be really concentrated, because we're going to add details like these little dots. Okay, so let's see if we can get some yellow to show up on this red. I think we can. If we make sure. There's a lot. See, there's a lot on my brush. See? So let's try to make one there. It's not working so well. Let's try it here. Okay. There. Come a little bigger. Just some spots. Some blue. And I'll go over here. Some squiggles maybe. It's kind of up to you and to your creativity. So I don't need my edges to be perfect. I like it better when they're not. I like anything that creates texture and movement when I paint. And this is still a little wet up in here. Loving that green and blue together. And then I'm going to go down here to this guy. And I'm going to paint some wings. I want my wing to come straight out. Boop, boop, And you do have to say that when you paint it or it won't come out right. So I'm doing wet on dry here for the wing, and I'm going to come back and do the other wing. Make my line. Get a little bit more orange. Boop. 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 Okay. Paint it. Put a little bit of water in here. Go back and get some red. Boop, 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 boop. Boop, 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 boop. Professional watercolors use those noises. It's a true story. Come back and get some red. Little dots. Turn those dots into some squiggles. You put them wherever you want to. Okay. Put a little orange in there too, because I want them to be pretty dark. And I'm going to take some of this orange and I'm going to go around the edge. Doesn't have to be perfect. Okay. Now this next part, we're going to pull out a black marker and we're going to make some eyes. Now you could do this with black watercolor paint, but I think it's easier to control when you're using a pen. So I'm going to make two eyes up here, and I want them to be kind of goofy looking. If you had googly eyes, you could put them in here and just glue them down. So my two eyes are two different sizes. And this one's gonna have some eyebrows. And let's see, this one is gonna have one really small and one really big eye. The goofier the better, and some eyelashes, because why not? And then over here, I'm holding my pen up kind of high, and that gives me those loose circles. Okay. So the edge of this is dry, so I'm going to come around with my pen and just kind of follow the outline. Okay, same over here. The higher up you hold your pen, the more loose your pen strokes will be. And make room in here in case you decide to put your beak down. Up here, I put my beaks to the side, so I probably can go ahead and close up that hole. And then this guy. This is my favorite. So this is just the edges here. This one isn't dry. Okay, this is dry here in the middle. So here's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna switch pens, and I'm gonna get a pink Sharpie. Ooh, maybe it's not completely dry. Guys, it's not completely dry. Oops. If it does that, that means your paper is not completely dry. Let's try this again. Yep, it's not. Okay. So we're going to switch to a marker. Marker can be a little bit more forgiving on paper that's damp. I'm gonna grab a yellow Sharpie. Still not completely dry, but let's see what we get. Look at that. So you can layer your art materials and it's lots of fun. Look what it did. That's cool. That's probably because there's alcohol in here. Rubbing alcohol, my friends. Rubbing alcohol. Let's try it over here. Ooh, look! Fun. I didn't even think about that. Let's take it over here. And it just brightens that whole thing up. I love that. It's sort of great. Let's bring some yellow in here. Now for the beaks, really easy. Some orange. A beak coming out of the eyes, why not? Gonna add a little bit of red to this one so it looks different. This one needs a beak too. Now you can give them wings if you want to. Let's work on tails first. Okay. There's some purple. When you just see a little bit of water in there on the top, you know that your paint's going to be really concentrated. So let's give them some tails. I'm going to add some of this to it. And I think I'm going to do this too. That's a good look. That's fun. You can go touch up these purple spots. Get some green for this guy. Too drippy. Too drippy. Still too much. And some blue. Because all birds have tail feathers. Pull some of this orange into it. Okay. Just to hurry this along, guys. The next thing that we need to do is we draw a line underneath our birdies. You could draw it over the tail. I just didn't because the paper is wet. Here's a leg. This guy's got some knees going on. Wow, these are some weird looking birds. And then this guy. Let's not forget this guy. Hanging upside down. So then what is this guy thinking? Question mark. What is this guy thinking? Same thing. Same thing. Now this guy isn't completely done, but when you get done adding all your details, it doesn't have to say derp. That's up to you. But he's doing his own thing. He's hanging upside down. So that's it for today, guys. Come back next week when we're going to make stuffed animals. It'll be amazing. Be sure for everything that you make, or at least your favorite one, to post it down below in the comments. When you go through all this, if you have any questions, you can leave questions for me there too, and I'll try to answer them. So guys, thanks for joining me for this very first Artsy Fartsy Friday. And when somebody asked you, what did you do on Friday? You can just look at them and say, I arted.